All right, guys, we are going to talk about some of my favorite fish on Earth, West Africans, and who better than to explain them than Cameron. Even better than me, and I know a lot about them, but he knows way more. So let's go look.
That's a tall order.
We'll deliver. Okay, so we're right by a lot of the equipment right now, so it's going to be really loud for a minute, but it's going to get better as we go down the row. So here are some of my favorite fish ever in life, and we're going to start with this tank. We've got some random stuff going on, and Cameron's going to tell us about it.
Oh boy. So, like these guys, we've got a little bit going on here. We have, of course, my favorite fish on the row, because it's catfish. No offense, cichlids, everybody else, you're also great. I do keep a lot of these guys at home when I can. Here we have Pelvicochromis crebensis. These are the Taeniotis dahane. These are wild caught. It's been quite a while since we've had them. Kind of a fancier version of the domestic crib for those not aware of some of the wild types. Beautiful pink on them. Stay a little bit smaller than the common crib, poker. Great fish. These are really easy to keep in my opinion, in my experience. Main thing with a lot of these crib types, which I'm saying in air quotes, don't feed them a ton of worms. They like to blow it up with that, whether it's live or frozen. Unfortunately, I found very, very sparing, very rarely. But Taeniotis dahane is a beautiful fish. We have not had it in several years. Very easy to tell apart the males and females, both due to the spotting on the tail, the belly coloration, both beautiful. We also have Anomalochromis thomasi in here, the African butterfly cichlid. Those guys are great, very peaceful little dwarf African cichlid. You can see, even though these two species share a lot of the same habitat, no aggression issues. These guys will get incredible dark barring and blue spangling to them. They don't get very large, maybe 4 inches for a huge old male. Great fish, beautiful fish, not too hard to spawn either, and although it's a little rare, fairly easy to get your hands on. Of course, here we also have Periotropius buffi, the swallowtail glass cat, a catfish that gasp is active during the daytime, swims in the midwater, which is an excellent dither to help these guys feel secure along the bottom. Why I'm pointing this out is obviously they're all in the same tank, but because I am a big proponent of, whenever you can, having biotopes. I think that having fish that sort of recognize each other, since they would occur together in nature, is awesome. I think it's a lot of fun. For whatever reason, I'm a lot more strict at home with my own West African fish when doing that. And of course, a lot of the time fish will work with each other regardless of where they occur geographically in a tank, but I think it just goes together a little bit better. That's my opinion, but these more so than others I really try to keep together because it's just so much fun to have some neat African fish all together, I think.
I've definitely found the same thing. I'm a big proponent, specifically with West Africans, of keeping them as much as you can, keeping them in a biotope situation, because I have never seen a drop of aggression in those types of situations, which is pretty great. Especially when you have, like you said, fish occupying the same water space and they're doing just fine. Okay, I love these. So I'm really excited to hear you talk about these because I have been wanting these for a long time and they look even better this time than they did last time.
So this is Bonitochromis finleyi. Bonitochromis, if memory serves, was formerly in the genus Chromidotilapia, another benthic West African fish. These are awesome. They're kind of like the bigger, burlier crib in many ways. As you can see, there are a few split fins here and there. That's not because, they've got fin rot or anything. They're just a little bit feistier with each other than a lot of the other very similar kind of crib types. Incredible pink on these guys, the iridescent blue sheen. Get a little bit larger, maybe another inch on these guys, but not much. So definitely one that's a little bit more of a challenge. Does seem to like being kept in groups, but of course you will have some squabbles within a harem or some marital strife with these guys. So definitely one with a little bit more experience in mind for keeping these guys, but I think they're well worth it. The color is incredible. Watching them is awesome. They're mouth brooders, which is very unusual for those familiar with a lot of like the cribs. This is a great fish. We only get it a couple times a year. Again, a little bit trickier to keep going, but I think they're well worth it. And back in the back, we have a Hemichromis cerassogaster, an extremely rare jewel. Sorry, everyone viewing this, we don't have any of those for sale quite yet, but we do have a few folks in the area that are working on spawning those. So keep your eyes peeled for some babies on those. I actually have some at home that I'm working on. Incredible jewel, and he gets to live here because that fellow in the back was having a little bit of a spat with his partner, so to speak. So he gets to live here for right now. Taking a break.
Taking a break.
Be in timeout.
What a good tank to take a break in. Okay, so we actually keep one of the species in this tank, the Drachenfelsii, but tell us about these guys.
This is my favorite. I will brook no argument. I will say I'm horribly biased. I will also say I am the world's worst breeder and have gotten these to spawn a bunch of times, so I'm extra partial. Finally dug that bar up from underground and put it firmly on there. But anywho, Drachenfelsii, I think the male contrast color is just stunning. That white on the tail, the females, that purple and gold, and when they're spawning, that both of those colors turn up like 5 times. I love this fish to death. The name Drachenfelsii, super cool.
So.
These were formerly known as Taeniatus wari. I love this fish to death. I am buying some of these at some point. Probably these guys with the splits in the fin, so nobody else has to deal with those just because I love them. I must spawn them again. I crave that fish. And additionally here, I like this a lot as well because it shows off the even close relatives, some of which are a little meaner, can coexist. We have Benitochromis riomuniensis, these larger fellows. A little bit smaller, a little bit less feisty it seems like than the Finleyi. But you can see on some of these dominant guys, the yellow and pink is, it's like, I have a 2-year-old at home and it's like he's coloring with his pink marker on. It's just all over the place. It's beautiful, it's stunning. These actually have location, which is great. You don't always get that luxury. These are from Bidou or Bidou, not sure how to pronounce that. Another very rare one. All Benitochromis are pretty rare, but this especially is one that I think we've only had a couple times over the years. And as you can see, outside of a few splits and some fins here and there, pretty much all good to go. It's really heartening. It makes me want to take home some Benitochromis myself to mix with some of my West Africans because it'll work. Of course, make sure that you've got plenty of coverage, make sure that nobody's getting too womped on, but I think it's really neat that such similar fish can coexist pretty much problem-free.
Yeah, our Drachenfelsii just spawned, so I'm looking forward to that happening. That's the whole thing now. All right, so I see some Cherisons, that's exciting. And what do we have going on here?
So we have a little bit going on here, which is unfortunately, it looks like quite a few of the Enigmatochromis, also formerly Pelvicochromis, Lucanici, the bluefin Ralafi. Males are going to have that nice leopard pattern in the tail, and the lady back here, nice blue in the dorsal, little spot, gets this incredible, feels like lavender to her. This is a fish that it seems like is unfortunately overlooked. I think that they're also just an incredible crib type. I love these to death. A little bit more shy, seem to be a little bit less combative, which I think is great. Very unusual, and also Enigmatochromis. You know, it's got enigma right in the name, which I'm a big sucker for. We also have a few of, like you mentioned, I think they're Cherisons. Some of the taxonomy has been mixed around.
They're pretty cool.
There's some like new order going on with these that escapes me at the moment. These are going to be mostly Nanaethiops unitaeniatus, the African one-line tetra, which gets some really nice gold. Very sturdy, very hardy fish, great dither. Unfortunately not as in-your-face brightly colored as some of the other Congo tetras, but sturdy as hell. I like them. I have a sneaking suspicion that some of those in there do come intermingled with Neolabius, I believe it's Unifasciatus, which is horribly confusing. If you look a little bit closely, the eyes
that
look a
one
little bit
right
different.
there.
And that fellow is a Neolabius trilineatus.
Yeah, that's... Yep.
Kept that fish before. He
Like
came in as a contaminant of another batch of Congo tetras, so he gets to live here and help make these guys feel at home. And of course, we also have Lamprologus tigrepictilis, which I know you're very familiar with.
Yes.
Fascinating little kind
They
of...
are. I've really been enjoying ours. They're very. We put them in their own tank, and now they're doing their own thing, and it's really fun to watch. Their colors have changed. They're very active. I really enjoy. They remind me of buffalo heads, but like a little, you know, just a little more shy than a buffalo head. And here is a very quick-moving tank. Up top, it's quite fast. So what's going on in this tank?
So with these guys, we have a new barb for us. We've never had these. These are Enteromius leonensis, the Sierra Leone yellowfin barb. Definitely one of the faster moving African barbs. African barbs are a strange one. Unfortunately, a lot of the time they don't enter the hobby. There's a Clippia barbus in here as well. I don't know if that's Pleurophyllus or Conjicus. I'll need to stare at the scales. Looks like Pleurophyllus to me. Anywho, African barbs seem to come in a couple different flavors, and some of them get about 4 inches long and are really fast moving, which I think is really neat. But we don't know a ton about these guys. They're obviously excellent dithers for these cribs, making them feel real good. And down here we have the Pelvicochromis cribensis taeniatus maliwi. Great fish, very nice yellow to these guys, very nice purple on the females, and anecdotally from those who have kept them, who have spawned them, which I personally have not, they're probably the easiest of the taeniatus types to spawn. I believe that's because in nature they occur in an area where the pH isn't quite as low. as some of these other fellows. We're very lucky here in Portland to have soft water where you can ignore them for a little bit and the pH goes down low enough for some of these guys to spawn. That's what happened for my Drachenfelsii. But these are a great, again, crib type, very peaceful, very pretty, great in groups if you have the room for it, but you could also easily keep a pair in a 20 long or a 20 high without much issue alongside other fish. And we do have a few other fun contaminants in here. Looks like we got Nelestes in here, which is great. Always a little bit of a surprise with things coming out of Africa to see what you might see in there as well.
It's almost like you expect to see more contaminants.
I think it's fun.
I like those Nelestes tetras. I think those are really cool. I'm a big fan of different types of Congo tetras, and these blue diamonds are pretty stunning, so excited about these. What's going on with these guys?
Oh, good. I was hoping to kind of fangirl over the tetras before we talk about the Taeniatus Palangwe.
Let's do it.
I am the Smicala eye defender. Elastopteris Smicala eye is a fish unfortunately threatened by habitat destruction. Fortunately, there are some places, some large farms tank raising them. I have to defend this fish because everyone says it's really ugly, and then you see that beautiful blue shimmer to it when it turns.
Yep, you can't even see it. It doesn't even do it justice. They're on fire. This blue is amazing.
I promise it's incredible.
Yes.
Great for a Congo tetra because they are quite shy. Okay, that's maybe not great in and of itself. They stay fairly small, maximum size of maybe 2 inches. I do have some of these at home, some beautiful males that I've had for a couple years. Very tricky fish to spawn and raise the fry. The fry are quite small from my understanding, also need quite a low pH. Not gonna lie, females are more silvery, but a little bit more quaint, a little bit more delicate than like your average Congo tetra that'll be screwing around, doing whatever nose, occasionally nipping something. Sorry, Congo tetras, you do it sometimes.
They're a little more reserved, it's nice.
Yeah, definitely one where if you like botanicals, throwing a bunch of leaves in there, darkening it, keeping the light kind of dim on the tank I think is awesome, really shows out the color. I love them dearly. I will get a spawn out of them someday. It's just going to take some time. And of course, we'll talk about the Taeniatus Palangwe cribensis we have down here. We have never had this location as far as I'm aware. I think it's new to the hobby or might have been one that only occurred in Germany. This is one that a few collectors have gone out to seek out within the last couple months, I believe, even to find it. If memory serves, it's sort of similar to Taeniatus Kienke. Sorry, crib people, if I flubbed that a little bit. I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of all the types. But one that's really pretty. I mean, that pink's great. Nice little fish. I'm always in love with something new, novel, and different. Males are quite pretty. Females are awesome. But past that, I'm not sure what sort of tricks of the trade or little nuances there might be, although that female back there is definitely flirting with somebody.
She sure is. She looks nice. I'm always interested to see new Pelvicachroma species that come out because, you know, there's no shortage. So, but these are really pretty. I like them a lot. And here are a couple of my very favorites, actually. We have Nanochromis, we've got some really cool Pelvicachromis and Phenocogrammus. So tell us about these guys.
So we have, of course, the Copper Congo tetras. Sorry, going to hone in on the tetras to start. This is not dark enough. I am a firm believer in tannins. I am a lover of catfish. I love staring at dimly lit tanks that are very brown. Sue me. Those fish are incredible. They're stunning. The red they get to them is just awesome and will, of course, be exacerbated if you have tannins or a nice rose-hued bulb. A lot of those blue and white LEDs do nothing for me. Sorry, everyone. Great schooler. Does seem to be a little bit more flighty than your average Congo tetra, maybe not quite as finny, but one that I really love. I'm a big fan of like head and tail light tetras or garnet tetras from South America, and these remind me a lot of those. Of course, great dither as well, making these fish feel comfortable. We also have Nanochromis in here. We do get quite a variety of Nanochromis, but unfortunately this is the only one we have right now. This is Nanochromis pyrilis, often called nudiceps, but true nudiceps is exceedingly rare and also much uglier. We got it once, I kept them, didn't spawn them unfortunately. These guys are way prettier. They're typically pretty reasonably priced, pretty available, easy to sex, and you can see, you can always see a bunch of females with their ovipositors out wanting to spawn. For those getting into a little bit of a weirder West African, look no further than the pyrilis. Very easy to keep, a little bit more of a butt head, but very easy to sex out and to get going. Very pretty little fish, reach about 3 inches long. Just great little guys, and certainly mix it up a little bit, just a little bit feistier. We also have the Taeniatus Macore cribensis down here. Another beautiful crib type. These are going to be, in my opinion, and again, sorry crib people if you strongly disagree, a little bit similar to the Maliwis, but another just nice, peaceful, pretty little crib. Very nice females, very nice pink to them. Males are, of course, going to have kind of the customary leopard tail. Beautiful variety. Really like those guys as well. And of course, I'm selfish because I help take care of this row, so I get to see a lot of these guys almost on a daily basis. Although big shout out to everyone here in the warehouse that helps me out with water changes and feeding. I really appreciate it because these fish look great.
All right, so I see some familiar faces in this tank. Tell us what's going on here.
We got some great fish. I will point out up the top, somebody might have noticed we have a few Congo Tetras. Occasionally we get those that come in with short gill plates and to act as a great dither, because I'm going to definitely just beat that drum over and over. Have Tetras above your dwarf West African cichlids. We let them grow back out here or grow up a little bit, or if they're just never going to grow it back, to just help out our cichlids and be just kind of fun pets. We also have Parananochromis longirostris hiding in here, extraordinarily rare fish, larger fellows hiding in the back. Beautiful fish, one that's typically, there's a fellow in the tube, one that doesn't quite show out as much, unfortunately, until you have a nice pair bonded, but very, very rare, obscure African fish. We also have some nice Chromidotilapia guntheri. These guys are going to get a bit larger, about 5-6 inches. The iridescence on the females is incredible. I mean, it's Chromidotilapia, color cichlid, to boil that down into basic Latin, but pretty fish, very sturdy. Unfortunately, quite rare. It's a widespread fish, but it seems like only a few select enthusiasts seem to really care for those guys, which is a shame because they're awesome. Fairly sturdy, can be kept with a lot of the larger fellows. And then lastly, we have a fish that I'm not very familiar with. This is Pelvicochromis CF Polker, might be regular polker, the common crib. This location's from Ndonga. Supposedly they're going to get larger than your average crib. These are wild caught. Super neat, since the vast majority of common cribs or domestic cribs that we see in the hobby are, of course, going to be tank raised. These guys have really nice yellow and purple to them, and obviously they're big. I've really enjoyed watching these guys settle in and color up because that yellow is awesome, and it looks like that kind of pinkish stripe. Very unusual on these guys. Normally we're all familiar with the crib just having that nice purple belly, but one that I'm not super familiar with, but one that I'm really grateful that I get to watch and enjoy, hopefully for a long time, because there's quite a lot of these.
All right, so I'm a big fan of lots of things in here.
Would you like to do some of the honors?
You know, I will, because I am a big fan of the Wallacea signatus. We have a pair, and they have spawned, gosh, I want to say 4 or 5 times already, and they only ate one of them. We are very proud of them for that. It was only the first one, and after that it seemed to go a lot better, but we have babies growing out right now at varying stages, and they're just an absolute joy to watch parent. Like a lot of Pelvicochromis and a lot of Wallacea, it feels like they're some of the most enjoyable experiences as far as parenting goes and watching them raise out their fry. So I can say nothing other than great things about this fish. If anybody was interested, we keep ours in a 20 long, and they do great. Crank out the babies.
Good. It's a heartwarming tale in parenting.
Right?
Only one got eaten. That's pretty good.
Only one spawn got eaten. That's my heartwarming tale for sure. That's me.
Of course, we do have some smaller Tigropictolus in here. A couple more Congo Tetras just kind of lurking around, helping the cichlids feel secure. And then one of my favorites, just because, frankly, they're kind of ugly until they settle in, Pelvicochromis rolofi. We, of course, have the Enigmatochromis, the quote-unquote bluefin rolofi. These are from location Calente, and when they settle in, the purplish pink on them is magnificent. I think it's one of the best of any of the crib types. You don't see true rolofi very often, and I think part of that is sometimes you'll only see kind of snippets of what we're seeing here, which is a big stripe and hints of color. But when they settle in, when they flare up, they are incredible. I think definitely one of the best ones, and have a really interestingly squat body. I definitely like to take some of these guys home myself and work with them at some point, just because it seems like, well, I love them, and selfishly, they seem to respond pretty well to how I keep fish. So really great crib, really like when we can get them in, because it's normally only once or twice a year that we get the true rolofi. I just really like those guys. It's kind of that hidden mystery of like, what are they eventually going to be? And then they really, really reward you for that intrigue.
That's part of the fun with all those Pelvicochromis. I've never been upset with the Pelvicochromis that I've kept. I really love them all. And here these little turds are, huh? These beautiful little turds.
Yes, the bluegill jewel cichlid or pumpkin seed. Jokes aside, I love this fish. They are going to be, they're a land of contrasts. They're certainly one of the jewels of all time. They're certainly one of my favorites. I do currently have a tank in the office with 4 of these that have spawned several times, but my jughead self has only raised 1 baby from them. We're working on that, work in progress. When these guys are mature, males get a little bit of a nuchal hump, which I'm not personally the biggest fan of, to each their own. But the orange they get, the electric blue on the cheeks is awesome. They're a smaller jewel, only going to get about 4 inches. Certainly pack some of the feistiness that a lot of folks that have kept jewels are going to be familiar with, but not so mean that they haven't massacred some of the peaceful barbs I have in that tank. They don't pick on my catfish. They're certainly not as mean as like the turquoise jewels that are trade strains that you see, or anything like the 5-star general. Not too bad for that. Certainly a middle of the road one, but a beautiful fish. Just one that takes a lot of time to color up, a lot of love. A little bit more obscure, so unfortunately the price tag isn't as low as some people see. It's a fish that you got to kind of take a leap of faith on, but one that's incredible, and frankly, one that is kind of a feather in your cap for a lot of cichlid breeders that feels like to spawn this, because again, we live here in Portland, the water is very soft, and with a little bit of botanicals, a little bit of neglect, you can get the water down to about 5 pH to spawn. I've tried messing with mine, seeing how high I can get the pH to where they'll still spawn, and it turns out, no, it's still 5.5. You got to be careful with it to get them to go, and it's a beautiful fish, so definitely one for the hardcore enthusiast to really enjoy. But I love these guys. I've kept them with a wide variety of fish. They're easily one of my favorite jewels, and I'm really grateful that we have them in again. I love these guys.
Yeah, I've seen them with the fry in your tank in there, and they didn't even bother anyone really. They just kind of kept their fry in line and kept people out of the area, and that was about it. So, and they look phenomenal.
The amount of catfish and bashirs that coincidentally are also in that tank that they fended those babies off of is magnificent, without, again, really harming them.
An impressive fish.
Good job, parent jewels.
All right, well, that was a bunch of my favorite fish in the entire world, so it was pretty exciting for me. Cameron, thank you so much, as always, a wealth of information, and we'll see you next time.